In the journey of semen retention, something profound occurs beyond just physical preservation. It's the cultivation of divine energy. This is not metaphorical, it's vibrational, spiritual, and deeply magnetic. The retained man stops leaking his life force and instead begins storing and recycling it within. Over time, this transforms into an inner current of power, a subtle radiance that others feel but cannot always explain. It's this energy that creates a gravitational pull, especially in women who are naturally attuned to energetic frequencies. What makes this energy so potent is its rootedness in purpose. A man on semen retention is often not indulging in mindless pleasure. Instead, he is on a path of discipline, introspection, and self-realization. This brings clarity to his mind, presence to his body, and alignment to his soul. The more aligned he becomes with his higher self, the more grounded and attractive he appears to the feminine energy. He becomes a container of safety and spiritual depth, qualities that subconsciously attract women looking for genuine connection. This divine energy refines his aura. He radiates calm, certainty, and presence. These are not surface-level traits. They are energetic signatures cultivated through inner work. Women don't just see this energy, they feel it. In a world full of men chasing and projecting desire, the retained man is different. He does not chase because he is full. He does not beg because he is abundant. This abundance is spiritual, not material, and it draws feminine curiosity and admiration without effort. The divine masculine energy activated through retention speaks to ancient codes within the feminine. It whispers protection, direction, power, and mystery. Women are not just drawn to this energy, they often cannot explain why they are. It transcends looks, words, or actions. It is the unspoken presence of a man who holds back his seed and instead builds his soul. The very act of conservation becomes a magnetic field of self-respect and spiritual gravity. Ultimately, what makes this attraction unstoppable is that it's not based on manipulation, techniques, or charm. It is nature responding to truth. Women, especially conscious or emotionally attuned women, are drawn not to the man himself, but to the spiritual energy he cultivates. In a retained man, she senses something eternal, powerful, and safe. Not because he's perfect, but because he's on a path. And that path carries a frequency she instinctively trusts. The polarity between divine masculine and feminine. Nature is governed by polarity. Masculine and feminine energies are not in opposition. They are complementary forces. The retained man, by preserving his essence, is fully stepping into the masculine pole of stillness, purpose, and direction. Feminine is magnetized to this presence because it offers balance. She flows, he anchors. She expresses, he holds. And when his masculine is deeply embodied, she feels free to express her feminine without resistance or fear. In most modern dynamics, the masculine energy is diluted, distracted, overstimulated, and lost in superficial pleasure. This weakens the polarity and thus weakens attraction. But the retained man, through spiritual practice, begins to radiate clarity and stability. He is not easily swayed. His emotions don't control him. His purpose guides him. In this steadiness, the feminine feels a powerful invitation to relax, to soften, to trust. What women often crave at a soul level is not a man who validates them, but a man who anchors them. The retained man, through semen retention and spiritual growth, becomes that anchor, not by trying, but by becoming. This creates a natural polarity, a dynamic tension between energies that fuels emotional and physical attraction. The feminine feels the divine masculine, not through what he says, but through the silent presence of his being. When a man retains his energy and walks his spiritual path, he emits a frequency of non-neediness. This is magnetic to the feminine, who seeks connection but not codependence. She is not looking for a savior, but for someone whose energy inspires her own awakening. The retained man, grounded in his mission, becomes a mirror to her potential, not her weakness. This energetic dance fuels a connection that is soul deep and spiritually invigorating. This chapter of attraction is not about performance, it's about polarity. The more a man commits to his retention and inner work, the more polarizing his presence becomes. Some women will resist it, others will be irresistibly drawn. Because the divine feminine wants to merge with something higher, not just in a man's body, but in his soul. And when she feels that divine energy, she is pulled into its orbit, not by force, but by fate. Aura, presence, and silent communication. A retained man begins to cultivate a very specific presence, often described as aura or vibe. It's not just energy, it's the spiritual echo of his internal state. As he retains, meditates, and deepens his connection with self, this aura thickens. It becomes more coherent. His eyes begin to carry a silent depth. His posture becomes calm, assertive, and non-reactive. He speaks less but says more with his energy. Presence is not about being loud or dominant. It is about being completely here. Women sense this. In a world filled with distraction, a man who is fully present becomes rare and powerful. The retained man does not just look at her, he sees her. And more importantly, he is rooted in himself while doing so. This balance between awareness of her and awareness of self is magnetic. She feels seen, yet she cannot control him. This evokes deep intrigue. Silent communication becomes a key force in this attraction. The retained man doesn't need to prove, impress, or chase. His energy communicates everything. His stillness, his breathing, his eye contact all become spiritual expressions. He listens more than he speaks because he knows that truth reveals itself in presence. Women often respond emotionally and energetically before logically. She will feel his inner stillness long before she understands it intellectually. The aura of a retained man repels drama and attracts clarity. His silence is not empty, it's sacred. This scares some women, especially those who are not ready to meet their own depths. But to a conscious woman, his silent presence becomes an invitation to truth. She doesn't just want his body, she wants to rest in his energy. This is not sexual in the superficial sense. It is spiritual intimacy, felt before touched. This chapter of attraction is invisible yet undeniable. Words cannot create this energy. It must be cultivated through practice, retention, and inner work. Women are not drawn to the man who talks about power. They are drawn to the man who embodies it. And in his aura, they feel something ancient, safe, and divine. Something that can only be created through inner transmutation. Spiritual magnetism beyond physical appeal. There's a common belief that attraction is based solely on physical features, but this is surface-level understanding. In reality, women, especially those sensitive to energy, are drawn to a spiritual magnetism that transcends looks. The retained man glows not because of appearance, but because his energy is clean, powerful, and rising. His charisma is not learned. It is revealed as he rises beyond lust and ego. As a man retains, he purifies his lower desires and channels his energy into higher expression. His creativity spikes. His voice deepens with confidence. His movements slow down with intention. This level of embodied control is rare and hypnotic. It is not about dominance. It is about divine order. Women subconsciously trust this order. In it, they feel held, not controlled, free, not pursued. And that paradox is deeply magnetic. Spiritual magnetism also means the retained man has fewer energy leaks. He does not chase women, lose himself in validation, or seek approval. His energy is consolidated, and this creates inner wealth. Women are drawn to this wealth, not of money but of spirit. His attention becomes sacred. When he gives it, it feels rare. When he withholds it, it feels mysterious. Either way, his energy holds value, and that creates attraction. Physical attraction fades if not supported by spiritual depth. But the retained man becomes more attractive over time, not less. As his energy builds, so does his glow. His skin clears, his voice becomes smoother, his mind sharpens, his presence expands. These are not accidents. They are manifestations of spiritual refinement. And they build a silent yet unstoppable form of attraction that can last lifetimes. This magnetism is not flashy. It is not created in the gym or in fashion. It is cultivated in the fire of discipline, purpose, and self-restraint. Women feel it before they see it. And when they do see it, they don't want to look away. Not because of how he looks, but because of what they feel when they are near him. That is spiritual seduction, pure, sacred, and divine. The retained man as a mirror of her soul. A powerful truth rarely spoken is this: women are not always attracted to the man himself, but to what they become in his presence. A retained man, grounded in his divine energy, becomes a mirror to a woman's own potential. His presence reflects her forgotten divinity. He awakens parts of her soul that long to be seen, loved, and liberated. This is the deepest form of attraction, a soul recognition. He does not need to seduce her. He simply needs to be fully present with her. In his non-reactive gaze, she begins to see herself more clearly. In his silence, she hears her own thoughts echo. In his depth, she feels safe enough to explore hers. This is not romance, it is remembrance. It is the soul meeting the soul under the disguise of human attraction. The retained man holds space but never possession. This creates paradox. She feels free yet drawn in, respected yet desired, seen yet untouched. These opposing forces create emotional alchemy. She begins to grow just by being near him, not because he teaches her, but because he reflects her. And that reflection is more powerful than any compliment or gift. This is where attraction becomes sacred. The woman begins to see the man not as an object of desire, but as a spiritual partner. She respects his boundaries, his silence, his path. She no longer sees him as just a man, but as a vessel of the divine masculine. And this changes the entire nature of their connection. It becomes less about getting and more about giving, less about possession and more about elevation. The retained man becomes the embodiment of a deeper love, a love that does not grasp but uplifts. In this love, attraction becomes unstoppable, not because of tactics or charm, but because of truth. The truth of who he is, the truth of what she feels, and the truth of what their energies create together. This is the divine dance. This is the power of semen retention, spirituality, and divine attraction. The emotional integrity of the retained man. True attraction is rooted in emotional integrity, the ability to feel deeply while remaining balanced. The retained man develops this trait through self-restraint and inner mastery. When he no longer reacts impulsively to urges, he becomes emotionally sovereign. He no longer chases highs or escapes lows. Instead, he meets his emotions with awareness, allowing them to pass through without attachment. This creates a calm emotional field that is deeply grounding for others. Women are drawn to this emotional integrity because it signals maturity and strength. A man who doesn't fall apart under pressure, who doesn't lash out or withdraw when challenged, is rare. His ability to hold his own emotions makes her feel emotionally safe around him. She can express herself freely, knowing he won't take it personally or crumble. This emotional maturity becomes an energetic container, allowing authentic intimacy to blossom. This type of man isn't emotionally detached. He's emotionally free. He's not suppressing his feelings. He's transcending the chaos of being ruled by them. This balance between emotional presence and spiritual detachment creates an aura of peace. And peace, to a woman who is sensitive to energies, is more attractive than power, status, or wealth. She feels her nervous system relax in his presence, and her soul begins to open. In our modern culture of emotional reactivity, the retained man's emotional equilibrium stands out. He is not controlled by anger, lust, or anxiety. Instead, he feels fully and channels his emotions into creation, service, or spiritual growth. His energy is refined because he has done the inner work, and that refinement is felt in every interaction, as grace, as steadiness, as the kind of quiet strength that inspires trust. This emotional strength is not taught in schools or seen in mainstream media. It is cultivated in solitude, during moments of inner struggle, in the silent victories over one's own shadow. The retained man becomes emotionally resilient, not by avoiding difficulty, but by alchemizing it. And this resilience is a rare gift. It draws women not for protection alone, but for partnership, a spiritual alliance based on growth, not drama. The power of sexual transmutation. One of the most sacred abilities of a retained man is sexual transmutation, the redirection of sexual energy into higher creative or spiritual pursuits. This principle, emphasized in ancient yogic and Taoist traditions, is not mere theory. It is a lived reality. When the retained man stops leaking his energy through lust, he begins to channel that potent life force into creation. This energy is magnetic, not because it is suppressed, but because it is elevated. Sexual energy is not evil, it's divine, but most men allow it to control them. The retained man, however, becomes its master. He learns to harness this force to build his purpose, refine his talents, deepen his intuition, and expand his influence. This creates an aura of vitality and creativity that others feel instinctively. Women in particular are drawn to this power because it is life-giving, not draining. It uplifts rather than consumes. Through sexual transmutation, the retained man begins to radiate something larger than himself. He speaks with authority. He moves with confidence. His energy uplifts rooms without needing to dominate them. This magnetism is not performance-based. It is energetic truth. It is the result of harnessing raw primal energy and directing it upward through the chakras into heart, mind, and spirit. When women feel this energy, they respond at the subconscious level. It's not just arousal, they feel inspired. They feel awakened. A man who transmutes his sexual energy is not needy for intimacy, but open to sacred connection. This makes her feel safe and desired simultaneously. She senses that he doesn't want to take from her. He wants to meet her soul. That shift in intention makes all the difference. Ultimately, the retained man becomes the alchemist of his own being. By transforming lust into light, he embodies divine polarity. He becomes deeply masculine, yet spiritually connected. He becomes rooted in his body, yet free from its addictions. And this unique balance makes his attraction unstoppable, not because he demands it, but because he embodies what the feminine longs to experience. Transcendent union with the sacred masculine. The celibate glow, spiritual radiance from within. As semen retention deepens, it activates not just discipline, but radiance. A glow that can't be faked. This glow is spiritual in origin, yet it reflects through physical, emotional, and energetic channels. It's the result of preserved essence, clean intention, and inner alignment. Over time, the retained man begins to exude this radiance through his eyes, his skin, his posture, and his very being. This is not about outward grooming, it's the shine of the soul. This glow is often referred to in spiritual circles as ojas, a Sanskrit term denoting spiritual vitality and inner luminosity. It's built through purity, purpose, and self-mastery. When a man preserves his seed, it accumulates in the body and nourishes the mind and spirit. His face becomes brighter, his eyes more penetrating, his presence more alive. Women may not know what it is, but they feel it. It's the energy of a man who has stopped leaking his light. Radiance does not mean perfection, it means alignment. The retained man may still struggle, but his struggles are conscious. His energy is not scattered. His goals are not shallow. He glows because he is no longer at war with himself, and this peace becomes evident to everyone around him. In a world addicted to surface-level stimulation, his glow becomes a beacon of something rare, authentic presence. This glow attracts on a soul level. It bypasses superficial metrics like fashion, status, or trends. It touches the feminine in ways she can't verbalize. It might feel like a spiritual nostalgia, as if she's seen this energy before, maybe in a past life or a dream. It's not just attraction, it's recognition. And when a woman sees that glow, she doesn't just want the man, she wants to remember what that glow awakens in her. The celibate glow is the result of sacred living. It's earned, not inherited. And it cannot be faked, sold, or borrowed. It comes from the man who has chosen depth over distraction, clarity over chaos, and purpose over pleasure. And because this glow is so rare, it becomes unforgettable. Women remember how they felt around it, long after the man has walked away. Retained energy and the law of resonance. One of the most powerful spiritual laws at work in the retained man's life is the law of resonance. This law states that we attract not what we want, but what we are in frequency. As a man retains and purifies, his vibration rises. He begins to emit a frequency of clarity, strength, and divine purpose. And that frequency begins to magnetize matching energies, especially in relationships and feminine counterparts. Unlike the law of attraction, which is often misunderstood as simple wishful thinking, resonance works at the level of vibration. The retained man no longer attracts chaos, neediness, or lustful dynamics. Instead, he starts drawing in women who are also healing, ascending, and awakening. His higher frequency filters out what is misaligned. This is not arrogance, it is resonance. What doesn't match will feel discomfort. What matches will feel destiny. This energetic resonance is powerful because it bypasses logic. A woman might meet a retained man and feel drawn to him without knowing why. His presence may stir her emotions, challenge her patterns, or awaken her soul wounds. This is because his frequency is calling her into her higher self. It's not comfort, it's growth. And this type of attraction, though intense, is often soul deep. The retained man must understand this power. He will be tested. Not all attraction is aligned, and not every woman who feels his energy is ready to receive it. Some may feel triggered. Others may try to drain it. But those who are attuned will rise to meet it. And in that meeting, a sacred connection is possible, one that goes beyond romance into shared evolution. The law of resonance ensures that a retained man never needs to chase. His energy speaks louder than his words. His vibe filters what enters his life. And when he stays consistent on his path, retaining, growing, and refining, his world shifts. The right people, opportunities, and relationships begin to appear, not by chance, but by spiritual magnetism. The sacred test, protecting the energy. The retained man, as his divine energy grows, must learn to protect it, not from fear, but from wisdom. His presence will attract admiration, curiosity, and even temptation. But not all attention is meant to be embraced. Some energy is parasitic, some is chaotic. And part of spiritual maturity is learning to say no to anything that compromises the soul. Retention is not just about attraction, it's about refinement. And every interaction becomes a test. Will he give his energy away for short-term pleasure? Will he lose his center in validation? Or will he stay anchored in his path, choosing purpose over impulse? These moments define the strength of his energy. The more he resists distraction, the more powerful and divine he becomes. Women of all types will sense his glow. Some will honor it. Others will want to consume it. This is where discernment becomes essential. The retained man must learn to feel the vibration behind the smile, the intention behind the compliment. Not every connection is divine, and protecting his energy is not rejection, it is reverence. He must guard his temple, not out of ego, but out of devotion. This sacred protection extends beyond women. It includes environments, thoughts, habits, and media. The retained man becomes selective with what he consumes and who he allows into his space. This isn't isolation, it's filtration. He knows that his energy is his most sacred currency, and he spends it wisely. He aligns his life with values, not desires. Ultimately, this is the highest test. Can the retained man carry his divine energy without losing his humility, clarity, or purpose? Can he be magnetic without being arrogant, desired without being distracted? That balance is rare, but when it's achieved, his presence becomes unstoppable, not just to women, but to the universe itself.